Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Nintendo 64 playthrough. Firstly, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank everyone, of course, everyone that's watched so far, everyone that comes to the channel, watches videos, comments, likes, subscribes, the whole heap. Even anyone who sends some feedback as well, I really appreciate that too. So, what the objective for today here is we're going to go to the Forest Temple. For anyone who may not have seen the previous videos in this series, we have gotten all of the 3 spiritual stones as young Link. Now we're going to go and traverse as adult Link. What we're going to do firstly is we're going to go to Lon Ranch. Because as young Link we went and of course learned Epona's song. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that into action. Firstly, apologies for the screen orientation here. As you can see, I've just been messing around with OBS Studio, and that's why the ruby count is the ruby counter, is at the bottom of the screen and barely visible. So apologies for that, and I hope it doesn't interfere too much with the experience. So we're going to go up and talk to this guy now. You can't see it from here, but this guy has some absolutely mental eyebrows. And he has some really red eyes as well. And the objective here is that we'll talk to him for a moment, then we will pay to go and do a bit of horse riding. And then after that's finished, you'll see for yourself. So we'll go here, we'll go ahead and play Epona's song, which will of course call her over, very enthusiastically of course. If I can actually get up here, that would be brilliant. Okay, happy days. So what we'll do is we'll ride around here for a minute or two, collect some rubies as well. Yeah, so we'll do this for 20 seconds or so. So like essentially what I do when I play these games, I play all of these from memory, because Ocarina of Time is just one of those games that I've been playing probably since 1998. I was actually introduced to this series. Okay, so there's the eyebrows and the red eyes, do you see? Don't know what this guy's been up to before we got here, but whatever it is, it's maybe a wee bit sinister. But I was introduced to this series through my uncle. My uncle got a Nintendo 64 on release, and he got, if I remember correctly, he got GoldenEye, and he got Zelda as well. I think Zelda was actually bought for him as maybe a birthday present or a Christmas present. It was a gift anyway, by his girlfriend at the time, and he refused to play Zelda because it looked like a girl's game. Yeah, a bit of a girl's game for my factory working macho uncle, you know. I hope he never hears me say that, of course. But yeah, he refused to play that, and then he did, and he picked it up and he couldn't put it down. And that's how I was introduced to the series way back in 1998 or 1999, something like that. So what we've done, after we finish going through the course on Epona, this guy, we'll just call him Eyebrows from now on. So Eyebrows doesn't like the fact that you're on Epona, so he challenges you to a race, just to see if he can win some rubies from you. And this is how we actually get Epona, because he doesn't like the fact that he lost, and he doesn't want to pony up terrible joke. The 50 rubies. So instead what happens is he challenges you to one more race, and if you win this time you get to keep the horse. You fool. So then we'll go ahead here. What's really important in this race, more so the second one than the first one, but it's really important that you get ahead as quickly as you can, because if not it can be quite difficult, because as you can see, I'm just going to assume that Eyebrows has unlimited carrots when he's on his horse. We don't. So get out, get ahead straight away, and then that way you can just sort of manage your speed, manage your boosts and things like that. If you struggle in that race, a good piece of advice is just to always stay directly in front of him until your carrots or your speed boosts build up again. When using the speed boosts, of course, it's really important to remember, always leave at least one, so that way when you're on Epona, that as long as you leave one, it means that they will regenerate. But if you use all of your speed boosts, you actually have to stop using the analog stick. That one anyway. See, I'm not using a Nintendo 64 controller, that's the thing, and I just can't remember what the name of the movement stick, that's probably not right, but anyway, you actually have to stop moving that in order for your speed boost to regenerate. So just make sure you do that. Make sure you always leave at least one so that your boost regenerates anyway. I feel like I used the word regenerate way too much there, and the word boost as well. So let's get ourselves over to Kakariko Village before being humbled by the bridge. So now that we've got Epona, fantastic introduction and little movie there as well. But now that we've got Epona, it means that we can traverse Hyrule a lot quicker than what we would have done before. So we'll go to Kakariko Village here, because as you can see, in the 7 years that Link has been gone, Hyrule has pretty much turned into a war zone. And everybody has kind of relocated all over the place. So these guys that were originally in Castle Town, or Market Town, or Hyrule Market, you know what I mean anyway. So these guys are now here, and you'll see a lot of other people here as well. A lot of familiar faces essentially. But we'll go up here, we're going to go to the graveyard, we're going to move one of the headstones, and then we are going to race Dampé. Dampé? Yeah, well, that guy anyway, well, the ghost of Dampé, for the hookshot. So the grave that you need to pull back, or the headstone, sorry, is this one here. Always look for one with flowers. And that's us. So this course here, this can be particularly challenging, and the reason for that is because, of course, you have these really tight camera angles. It's not quite Resident Evil, of course, for the PS1, but they're pretty tight anyway. Problem is that camera angles are constantly shifting because you're constantly moving, and at the same time, Baldy over here is throwing these fireballs at you as well. You need to be really quick here. Your movement needs to be really tight as well, because if not, you'll fail this course, and then you'll have to go back and restart, and it can be really annoying as well. I would say maybe no more than 2 mistakes here. So running into these fireballs, for example. Now that's one challenge, but of course you can fail this course if you take too long as well, because I think there was a couple of doors in here as well that will lock, they'll seal, and you'll not be able to progress. You'll have to jump down that hole or whatever. But 1 minute and 6 is handy enough. First time, you know, no missteps or anything like that, so all is good. Okay, brilliant. So, time to get the hookshot here. And the reason why we do this is because without the hookshot, without the hookshot, you don't get access to the forest temple. And on our way back here, so we will use the ocarina to play the Song of Time, which will of course move this big blue block here. Try and say that 5 times fast. That song will be utilised a fair few times throughout this game as well. So what we're going to do here, we're not just going to jump down straight away, because over to the right there's a heart piece. And if I remember correctly, I think that actually gives us a heart container, because we've already collected 3. We have. Excellent. Okay. What we'll do here, while we're here as well, we'll go and speak with this guy. Activate this by equipping the ocarina, because then he goes on a little bit of a rant that some mean kid came and played a song and then it messed up the windmill. He then plays it for you, which means you then learn the Song of Storms, which is going to be handy for later on in the game. What I like to do is, once I complete the Forest Temple, I like to go back, become Kid Link again, and then I'll go to the bottom of the well, get the Lens of Truth, and there was always something else as well. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but as I play through the game, I know it will come to me. But yes, what I would normally do then is complete the Forest Temple, come back, go to the bottom of the well, get the Lens of Truth, go back to Hyrule Market, and then go into the Bomb Chew shop and unlock the Bomb Chews as well. I think I could do it in that order. Again, it has been a wee while since I played, so I may not be totally accurate on this. But this has been a productive sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so anyway. We've got Epona, we've got the Song of Storms, and we've also got the hookshot, all within sort of 10-15 minutes, so that's not bad. What we'll do now then is we're going to make our way to the Kokiri Forest. I think I went a wee bit out of left field there. Yeah, we'll make our way back, of course, because Epona can't jump over a quarter-inch fence. Video game logic. It's like Resident Evil 4, when you can't jump over a very, very small, not even knee-high fence, and you need to go and get a key to unlock it, you know? Yeah. So, of course, Hyrule has changed, not so much for the better, in the 7 years that Link has been away. As we can see, the Kokiri Forest is now inhabited by enemies. Because, of course, the Deku Tree is gonesies now. So there's no protection, no barrier for the forest against the outside world. So what we'll do is we'll just go through the Lost Woods again here. You'll see why I am equipping the ocarina here. Not before I go the wrong way though. Silly does. Okay, so we'll speak with this guy, but instead of having to speak with him and then equip the ocarina, just go ahead and equip the ocarina because it has the same effect anyway. But you play Soraya, I don't know what her name is really. We'll call her Soraya, but we'll play Soraya's song here for him. He obviously then remembers, she only taught that song to her friends, that must mean he's a friend, blah blah blah. And then of course he recognises him, but can't quite place them as well. So on we go. I absolutely love the soundtrack of this game. The Lost Woods, Hyrule Market, of course the Forest Temple as well, Spirit Temple, Ganon's Castle. It's just fantastic. Even Hyrule Field as well. And I mean, the music in this game, it really could not go along with the game any better. It's perfect. It's a perfect match. I mean, Hyrule Field, for example, it's like when you first enter it and you hear that, it's like that wee jingle. It's sunny. This is a nice space. It reminds me of first thing on a Saturday morning, you know. Saturday morning is just my favourite time of the week. I'm up a little bit earlier than everybody else. I'll make myself some coffee and just think of everything from the week before. Of course, obviously Saturday being the 7th day of the week. I like to just, you know, collect my thoughts really, and prepare myself for the week ahead. But I like to do that in I guess the peaceful serenity of a Saturday morning. Well, this is embarrassing. Yeah, but that's what Hyrule Field, well, at least the soundtrack, makes me think of, you know, first thing on a Saturday morning, just before everybody else is awake, and you have your first coffee of the day, and you just get to think on what's happened the week before, what you're going to do today. Saturday morning just gives me endless possibilities. And that's what the soundtrack from Hyrule Field that makes me think of. But the soundtrack, of course, I mean, it's probably a pretty obvious statement, but the soundtrack in this game is, it makes a statement. It invokes certain emotions. It sends a message, essentially, when you're at certain parts of the game. For me, for example, the Lost Woods, it's cheery, it's upbeat. It almost reminds me of like those Lord of the Rings cartoons from way back in the day as well. But even though it's upbeat and it's cheerful and you enjoy it, you could literally listen to that forever in the Lost Woods if you keep going. So you can get caught up in it quite easily. And here we have Sheik. We all know who Sheik really is, but Sheik has certain purposes throughout the game. Typically, firstly, this quote of the flow of time and whatever, look back on this, because Cody Rhodes actually quoted that on WWE before. And I think was it Corey Graves spoke about it as well. So here we go. WWE creative are getting their inspiration from Ocarina of Time here. Why not? Anyway, when it comes to the soundtrack of this game and the message that it sends and maybe the emotions that it evokes as well. So we've already spoken on Hyrule Field and the Lost Woods. Then we also have the likes of the Forest Temple here, which of course you'll hear in a moment. And I will, of course, explain that once we get into the temple itself. But then we also have the Spirit Temple. How could I also forget Gerudo Valley as well? Gerudo Valley is probably one of my favourite video game pieces of music of all time, really. Gerudo Valley just reminds me of summer when I was 18 years old and working in a supermarket and walking to and from work on sunny days. But more on that a little bit later. Now we've got to the Forest Temple here, we've got to the entrance. So we'll use the hookshot as a wee shortcut to get up the vines here. And then of course we've got a wee golden spider. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to go and land here on this treetop. And then we'll take care of that business. controller behaving a bit abnormally here. I don't know if it's because I'm too close to the wall or anything, but I went to use the hookshot after equipping, and of course it unequipped it. I don't know why. Any hoops, we're going to go ahead here. We're going to hookshot across to this chest. The forest temple, well, like all temples really, I guess a pretty important item in these temples is these small keys that you'll get from these chests. And this is the thing about these temples in general. There's always backtracking involved. Excuse me. There's always backtracking involved. And there's nothing worse than advancing so far through a temple only to get to a locked door, the key of which is near the start of the temple. There is nothing more frustrating than that. And this game gives you plenty of opportunities for that type of backtracking, and I guess mistakes to be made. But the forest temple is very sneaky, because as you can see, there was a small key outside, and that would be very, very easily missed, because at the start of the temple here, there's 3 small keys you'll get relatively easy at the start of the temple here, but it's very easy to miss the first one. But then of course the game allows you to progress so far until you realise, I don't know where this other key is, what am I going to do? And then of course you have to go the whole way back to the start of the temple, get the key, and then make your way back again. But going back to what I meant when I was talking about these video game soundtracks evoking certain emotions here. The forest temple. So, of course, as you become adult Link, you can see that the world has changed terribly. Because the first thing that you see when you become an adult, except for the Temple of Time, of course, but when you go back into the world itself, you can see that something really, really bad has happened here. The Sage of Light, his name is Roru or something, I'm probably not pronouncing that properly, but he explains that some pretty nasty stuff has went down in the 7 years that you've been away, and you see that for yourself literally the moment that you walk out of the temple, because what was once a joyous and peaceful Hyrule market has now been replaced by zombies. And the forest temple, when you hear that music, I think it really signifies that transition from child into adult, because in the first couple of dungeons, Deku Tree, the Dongo's Cavern for example, and Jabu Jabu, but you can see that, okay, don't get me wrong, there are challenges, but the challenges, I guess, are appropriate for someone of a child's age and experience, because those dungeons are, again, they have their challenges, but the challenges are quite minimal and straightforward. Just the same way I think challenges would be for your typical child, you know, as they're just trying to navigate their way through the world. But then that changes. The world changes, everything changes once Link goes away. And then you go to the forest temple, because the music in the forest temple evokes this sense of mystery and wonder, uncertainty, but at the same time it's exciting. It's, what's the other word? See, do you know what my problem is? I don't write scripts or anything for any of the videos that I ever do, so I freeball this. It's all on the spot. And sometimes the words just don't come to you. But anyway, forest temple music, fantastic. But really does make you think of that uncertainty. Like the moment you hear that music, it's okay. This is interesting. This is new. But also as well, it's like you know that you're completely by yourself here. And when you go through, say, the Deku Tree or the Dongo's Cavern or whatever else, there's very, very minimal backtracking. Those dungeons are quite linear. Even Jabu Jabu's Belly as well. They're quite linear. except for maybe once or twice in which you'll backtrack a little bit, but it's almost signposted for you, you know. Maybe Jabu Jabu's belly is the exception on that, just because when you go and you meet Princess Ruto, you have to carry her about and whatever else, but then you get the boomerang and you beat you destroy the tentacles that are on the ceiling, and then you have to choose the correct hole to drop down, and that can be very, very easily missed. But that's really the only confusing part, I think, when it comes to that particular dungeon, is that it's so easily done. And when you think about the level of the challenge, generally with those first 3 dungeons, it's not overly difficult. First time players might take a wee while before you realise how to... Okay, 1.5 hearts, that's quite a strong attack. But anyway, first time players, when you have to jump off the platform and destroy the webbing on the floor below, might take a couple of goes before you realise, oh, this is actually what I need to do here. Smart. And that particular challenge, just, it makes you think that maybe not everything is as it seems, but still quite straightforward. And then of course really the only other puzzle after that, except for whenever you move the large block, so that you can jump back and forwards and then use the Deku stick on another web to set it on fire. And then of course there's the Deku scrubs, the puzzle, the 2, 3, 1, you have to get them in order. It's not difficult, it's straightforward. But then you come to the Forest Temple, immediately there's so much more space, so many more doors, places to go, potential to get it wrong. And as we can see here, look, I consider myself pretty decent at this game, but going into the room with the 2 Staffos there, it's I don't think they've ever killed me that way. Now don't get me wrong, I do have furries of course, so I technically didn't die. But what this temple can also do, and generally the temples you'll go into as an adult, you will get punished far more greatly for smaller mistakes. But the objective of the Forest Temple here, as was seen whenever we first entered, so there are 4 spirits attached to those 4 lanterns. They disappear. They disperse all over the place, and then of course it's up to you to then go find those spirits and deal with them accordingly by killing them. So, at the very start of this temple, there are 3 small keys that you need to get, which will allow you to progress. And obtaining those 3 keys right at the start means that you'll do very, very little backtracking here. Just as I mentioned before about sort of the transition from young Link to adult Link and the level of difficulty when it comes to these puzzles as well. So even, I guess, the first puzzle, if you want to call it that, in this temple with regards to these blocks here, there's still arrows on the ground. It still tells you where to go. Because when you first become an adult, you still receive a helping hand. At least I think, you know, for the most part anyway. There's still someone there who's happily going to give you that bit of guidance. But then it definitely becomes more difficult after that. Just the same way I think this game parallels real life. It's you will face minimal challenges as a child, and then as you get older, the level of challenges that you face and the difficulty increases, especially with life circumstances. For example, as a child, the most challenges you'll probably face are getting up for school on time, coming home on time so you don't get punished, eating your dinner, for example. And then as you get older, those challenges typically increase in difficulty, and sometimes frequency as well. And then you reach a certain point in life, you're maybe thinking about having children, you enter the world of work, you buy a car, things like that. The car breaks down, you face challenges in your job, and all of a sudden these minor challenges become a lot more complex and difficult, just like life in general. Or, sorry, what I should say, just like this game here as well. Have a wee drink of water here. Very important to drink your water, of course. Always aim for at least 2 litres per day. Minimum. Okay, now that we've sorted the blocks, we're going to go and progress through the rest of the temple here. We are approaching the twisted corridor, as you'll see for yourself here. And of course the signature eyepiece above the door as well. So, coming into this room, Navi warns you of shadows of monsters. I think that the monster is called a floor master, maybe? But it looks like it's a thing from the Addams family. It's just a giant purple hand. Disgusting looking. So creepy. Why am I doing this? Okay, let's go on here. But essentially, what they can do, very inconvenient by the way, but if they get you, they will teleport you to the temple entrance. You really don't want that happening. But this is just one more hidden danger of this game at this point, and another challenge to overcome, because if you dwell in one spot for too long, you'll see that the shadow, the size of the shadow increases around you. All of a sudden this thing drops from the ceiling, and just like one of those claw machines you play in the supermarket or the arcade, it picks you up and puts you at the temple entrance. And if you're really deep into a playthrough, oh, that's one of the last things you want to happen. Especially if it's reached that point when you've already solved X amount of puzzles and challenges and whatever else. It's pretty annoying. Really pushing the old FPS to the limit there. So I remember, I think I watched a YouTube video or read some lore on the Ocarina of Time, but essentially it said that these Staffos are people that lurked in the lost woods for too long and became lost themselves. Any truth on that? Brilliant. Okay, now that we've got the bow, we can go ahead and progress with the rest of the puzzles through the temple here. Just like when you were young Link and we were in the Dongo's Cavern, for example, or even the Deku Tree as well, we used the slingshot on one of those eyes above the door, and then it will perform certain functions. Generally what they do is they will allow you to progress to a certain area, or they'll change something within that area for a certain amount of time. What we're going to do, now that we've got the bow, we're going to go back, we're going to shoot an arrow, sorry, at these pictures here, these portraits of the ghost. There's 3, and then that unlocks the fight with that particular ghost. So we'll go ahead and do that. Upon completion of that, the blue flame here, a different colour for each ghost of course, will appear on top of the torch, which will then also appear on top of the torch in the main hall of the Forest Temple. there are 3 fights that are just like this one. So 2 that are pretty straightforward, that only require shooting an arrow at the portraits. And then of course the third one is a little bit different. It requires a puzzle to be solved. Very, very annoying one at that, by the way. Because I honestly think that there's literally a couple of seconds of a margin of error, and that's it. It can be a bit unforgiving, especially at this stage. And then the fourth one will appear once you go back to the main hall after defeating the other 3 ghosts. So there's one. We'll go back, there'll be another one here. And once this one is defeated, it will it will unlock a chest with a small key. Gotta love that wacky controller. My aim was terrible. So I just went and closed the window there. Unfortunately, we live quite close to a couple of houses, and each one of those houses has a dog in the back. And honestly, I think these people just leave the dogs outside all day, because every other minute it's like woof, woof. But I guess some news on that as well. So I've only recently started to upload to YouTube again, just due to time constraints really. Because my fiance and I, we actually moved to Spain in March of this year. So of course, we've just been incredibly busy, and I haven't really had the opportunity to upload much, if any, content. It's only really been over the last, I think, couple of weeks that I've been consistently able to upload videos. We moved in with her parents to start with, so we've been learning new jobs, trying to learn new skills, especially for me trying to learn a new language as well. Unfortunately, these things can't be done overnight. So yeah, just been pretty busy. Good busy, but still busy. Okay, so the reason why I'm coming back this way is because there are two rooms with twisted corridors. And what I now have to do is I have to go back to the first one, untwist that. Sorry, excuse me. I have to go back, untwist that by shooting an arrow at the eye above the door. So this one here. And then I'll come back. Once it's straightened, I will get the boss key, and then I will drop into a hole in the floor, which will give me a fight with some of these wee scullies here. And then that will unlock one more small key. I'll then progress back through. I'll go to the second room with the twisted corridor, and then I will be able to unlock that door, and then that will allow me to progress through the rest of the temple. But we've already beat 2 of those ghosts. Here's the boss key here. That's also another difference between the dungeons as Kid Link and the temples as Adult Link. We now need boss keys to open the boss door. Yeah, I prefer to use Deku nuts on these types of enemies here, just because they like to jump and bounce around a lot, and I just can't be annoyed with it. Okay, so now we've just got to an area in which we haven't been before. Okay, we've been on the ground floor here, but of course not up here. So we'll just get rid of that guy. Grab some Deku nuts as well. Don't really want to go too close to the edge and risk it too much, because if I was to drop down there, it would absolutely devastate me. So this is what I mean. This is one of those floor masters or wall masters or whatever it's called. It's very, very important. It's crucial to kill these guys before they regenerate, because what they'll do is they'll actually go back into the big hand, and then you'll have to do that all over again. I would just rather avoid that. Perfect. So I think that is the last small key that I'll collect in this temple. So just a little bit of backtracking to do here. What we're going to do is we're just going to go back through the twisted corridor. If I can actually get up on the wall here. Okay, there we go. You'll see that on the map on the bottom right, thanks to the compass, we can see some objects on the screen here, or on the map itself. There's a chest in this area, so we'll just use another arrow to retwist this, because we need access to that other door, of course. But there's a chest on the map there. Don't worry if you don't collect that. It's arrows, and honestly, we've already got 24 here, so it wouldn't be worth the hassle. The juice would not be worth the squeeze. So on we go. If Daza could actually get past the tricky banister there before being too embarrassed. What's quite important in these types of rooms here, so there are floor masters that will come down, of course, and teleport you to the temple entrance. Obviously we don't want that, so it's really important to try and get that connection with the ladder straight away, because the longer you dwell on that ladder, the longer that you get it wrong, the easier it's going to be for one of those enemies to come and teleport you. And what we're going to do here, just a mini puzzle of course, is we are going to line up with the torch here, shoot an arrow through that, melt the ice that covers the eye here. Perfect. So we shoot that, and then we we twist this corridor here, and then we'll make our way back. Hopefully we will not fall, because that is incredibly annoying. Perfect. There's nothing that makes you look more like an amateur gamer than falling off those platforms and having to make your way back up. It's a walk of shame, if you will. So we obviously have the ceiling here, and we have to stand on the correct spots, otherwise, yes, you're gonna get pancaked. So we'll unlock the door by stepping on the switch here. Normally I'll just make a direct run for this chest here. Yeah, That'll do. Grab some arrows. While we do that, the ceiling will fall, and as we can see, it's just a straight run to the door here. So this is the puzzle that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So once again, we'll shoot an arrow with the portrait here. These blocks will fall. The blocks are heavy, so it takes a couple of seconds just to move one around. Now, what I find helps a lot when it comes to this puzzle here, sometimes you'll see that a couple of those blocks are close together. You'll maybe get one that's a little bit further away, and then just that one in the middle. As you can see, that has absolutely no purpose, and it's just there to try and confuse people. But generally what happens is some of those blocks spawn closely together. If that happens, then it's important to keep those together. Don't move them too far away, because what is the point in moving 3 blocks to get closer to 1 when you can move 1 block to get closer to 3? You know what I mean? And of course, time is of the essence in this puzzle here. As we can see, 13 seconds left, and really no margin for error here. Perfect. Okay, 3 seconds. And then upon completion of that puzzle, you'll see that this just turns into a fight, the same as the rest. And I think 2-3 hits like that, this one's also done as well. I just use Deku nuts on these enemies because it's extra time to try and kill them, and I would rather just progress because it's a pointless task. So this fight's just a little bit unique in the sense that it's different from the rest really. What we do here is four of these ghosts will appear. But only one will take the damage, of course, and it's quite easy to tell which one that is. Can you tell which one it is? Yeah, always look for the one that spins when they appear. That's the one that you're going to go for. That's the only one that takes damage, and I think because it's been so long since I've done this wrong, but I think if you attack the wrong one, so you get something like 3 chances. If you get it wrong, then the ghost will come and attack you. And then you have to do it again. Now, upon entering the temple, what we can see is that, so that door over there, it has bars on it, and an eye above the door. I actually can't remember what's in there, so we'll just go ahead and skip that. So, one more puzzle here, and this one can be a little bit annoying, especially for newer players. What you have to do is there's 3 switches here. There's this one, which is not in a carpeted area. The next one, which is in an area with red carpet, and then the final one, which is in an area of the blue carpet. So that one first, then the red, and then the blue. So if you do it in that order, it will unlock the boss door for you. Hopefully you've got that key from a little bit earlier as well. If not, that's going to be a really annoying one for you. But I don't think you'll be able to get to this area without collecting that boss key. Because the boss key, the chest for the boss key, spawns on the floor near the hole that you would drop in. And it would take something really special for you to miss that. So what we'll do, we'll kill that one. We'll look up on the wall here, because we've got a golden one. So, do you know what, while we're here, we may as well collect another token. If Daza can actually use the hookshot here. Come on, I don't know why my controller does this, honestly. But it is what it is. Maybe a few arrows in here. Excellent. So, at this point, we have 1 out of 3 switches pressed. I think this is the right way. I think this is the way I went before. It can be easy to disorientate yourself in this room here. Especially if you go and you collect the golden token and everything as well. But just always remember, you push the wall here in a certain order. No carpet, red, and then blue. So what you need to do is you just need to line up the gaps in the wall here with those colours on the floor, with that pattern. And it's going to be pretty straightforward for you. Okay, so as we can see, the boss door there will go now. We'll press this switch, that will unlock that room for us, and then it's just a straight run across. The Forest Temple is one of my favourite temples in the game, with the soundtrack as well. But in terms of the boss fight, it's not one of my favourites. And especially when you use a non-N64 controller, and maybe the controller sensitivity is a little bit high, this one can be really annoying. Okay, so we see Ganondorf here. Or is it? Okay, so we'll have the evil spirit from beyond, the Phantom Ganon. What I love about this game is the way it introduces these bosses here by giving them some sort of a tagline or a caption or something before the actual name itself. It actually reminds me a wee bit of Borderlands. It's when you run into these characters, like there's someone called Six Toes or something like that, or Three Toes or whatever, and it'll have like a certain sort of a joke line before their actual name to introduce them as well. That's brilliant. So essentially here with Phantom Ganon, there are, I think, 6 pictures on the wall. 6 paintings, sorry. And what you have to do is you have to look for which painting he's coming out of, and then shoot him with an arrow. You do that, I think it's 3 times. And then of course it unlocks this fight here. What I've always done, I don't know if it's the right thing, but I always do pretty well at this boss fight, is that I always aim for Phantom Ganon that comes out of the picture, the one that looks larger. And I know you do have to be pretty quick when you make that choice, because otherwise Phantom Ganon will come and he'll hit you. So what he'll do is he'll use this scepter to fire an energy ball at you a couple of times, but that doesn't really go anywhere. And then what he'll do is he'll move further back, and then that's when this tennis game begins. Now, if this energy ball hits you, it does 1 heart of damage. It's not much, but it can be quite annoying as well. This fight in general can be annoying just because you have limited space to work with, and as such the camera angles are pretty tight. So I just always find that Z targeting here is an absolute necessity. So thing is, as you play tennis with the energy ball here, what you'll notice is that with each hit it speeds up. That can be a bit of an obstacle. So when that happens, when you start sort of jostling, whatever, when you start to hit that a couple of times, what I would always do is I would take just a quick step back, because it just allows Link that extra second to be able to hit the energy ball instead of taking damage. And as we can see, you do that a couple of times. Always go in and do the jump attack, and then that way the boss fight is over a bit quicker for you. because the longer that these boss fights go on, it means the more opportunity they have to hit you with a stronger attack and just make life a little bit more complicated for you. But as you can see, Phantom Ganon, pretty much a straightforward fight anyway. We will collect the heart container and then we'll get ourselves out of here. I do apologise for the orientation of the screen here, because I realise that once the game goes into like these little cutscenes here, if you want to call them that, it just essentially cuts off the top half of the screen nearly. So I do apologise for that, and I hope it doesn't interfere too much with the experience. But yeah, I specifically wanted to do a commentary when it came to the Forest Temple, just because this temple has always been special for me. It really signified an upturn in the difficulty of the game, the complexity of the challenges, and really just it makes you think a lot more. Because as you can see, for example, when you get the bow and you're starting to fight against these ghosts and whatever, it can be annoying to try and backtrack the whole way through the temple for a small key, for example. And that, ladies and gents, is the Forest Temple. What we'll do now is, thankfully, a wee sprout has appeared in the grass just before the Deku tree. Very happy looking. But this sprout here will just essentially explain, you know, what's going on. And then I guess what you need to do next. And the Deku sprout here just provides a little bit of lore as well, a little bit of context into just really the game world itself. And of course he reveals to Link that Link isn't actually a Kokiri, that he is in fact Hylian. And explains how Link actually came to be in the Kokiri forest. Because the Kokiri, they don't grow up, they don't age. And Link, of course, he is able to be an adult because he is, of course, not from the Kokiri. Kokiri almost sounds a wee bit like the noise or the sound that Krabby makes in Pokemon, isn't it? Cookie, cookie. Please don't judge me. Okay, so the Deku Sprout just essentially says this is what you need to do next, yada yada yada. And with that, guys, I would just like to thank everyone for their time today. Thank you for tuning in, and I wish you all a very pleasant Sunday and great start to your week. All the best.